Hello and welcome back. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Today's video is a tabletop comparison and review of the new Glock 43X and the Sig P365. We will go through the general specifications and comparison of the two so you can get an idea of the exact differences between the two offerings. So if you're deciding on your next concealed carry weapon, you can pick which one fits your needs the best. If that sounds interesting to you, please stick around. That's coming up now. Okay, let's go ahead and start off with what these two come with new. Over here with the Glock 43X, comes just in a Glock hard case like anything else with a cleaning rod, safety lock, cleaning brush. It does come with two magazines. Now each one of these magazines does hold 10 rounds and has the stylizing of the Generation 5 with the orange followers and the enlarged floor plates. These magazines are proprietary and will fit no other Glock model except for the Glock Model 48, which also just came out. With that, you will also get a speed loader and all of your information in the packet under here. Now moving over with the Sig P365, it also comes with two magazines. They are slightly different, as one comes with a flush floor plate and one comes with a slightly extended floor plate for your pinky or a pinky extension. Both magazines holding 10 rounds. Of course, you get the handgun and your warranty and safety information right here. And the case itself is a Sig box, and these magazines are proprietary, fitting no other firearm offered by Sig. Okay, let's go ahead and get into a spec comparison of the two, starting here with the 365. It does have a barrel length of 3.1 inches, an overall length of 5.8 inches, and a height of 4.5 inches. Over here at the Glock 43X, you have a barrel length of 3.41 inches, so about 0.3 inches longer than the Sig. Your overall length is 6.06 inches, which is 0.2 inches longer than the Sig, and your overall height is 5.04 inches, which is about half an inch taller than the Sig. And of course, seeing them lined up side by side, you can notice a distinct difference in size. The 43X is deniably a little bit larger, but not by a huge margin. When we line them up, you can see just a little bit of a protrusion here on the muzzle end, and a little bit of a protrusion here on the grip end. Of course, if you had the flush magazine inserted in the Sig, you would see the difference being a little bit more staggering there. Now keep in mind, looking at the size difference, both pistols do chamber 10 rounds. Now bringing it in for the weight for you guys, the Glock 43X with an empty magazine does weigh 1 pound 2.6 ounces. The Sig 365, 1 pound 2.4 ounces, so pretty close in weight. Okay, let's go ahead and start with a closer look at the slides on both of these offerings. So the 365 by Sig does have a stainless steel slide, which does have a nitron finish. It has rear and forward slide serrations for any type of press checking you want to do. There is your extractor. Now up at the top, there is a cut in the top of the barrel. That is your loaded chamber indicator. You will need some sort of light or a way that you can look inside there, because you will see the brass shining back at you when there is a round chambered. Now the sights are in a 3-dot configuration. These are the X-Ray 3 day and night sights, which I'll show you more in a minute, but they are steel in construction and both are dovetailed, so both are windage adjustable. There is no elevation adjustments, but then let's be honest, this is a concealed carry handgun, so that's not really necessary. There is the 3-dot configuration there for you, both night and day. You have the nighttime luminescent sights up at the front. There is the sort of green circle there, which is really easy for your eyes to pick up in the daytime. Sorry for the focus there, but you guys get the idea. And of course, there's our P365 roll markings here. The Glock 43X now has this new silver sort of iconic finish that we are also going to see on the Glock 48, video coming on that soon. But it is an NVPD coating, just like on the 19X, which comes in tan. Now you do have slide serrations on the back and the front. Here's your extractor, just like any other Glock, which does double as a loaded chamber indicator, so when there is a round chambered, this will protrude slightly, which you will be able to feel and know that you have a chambered round. Now up at the top, you will see our standard Glock Sights, which come on mostly everything else in the U-dot configuration. These are polymer in construction. The rear is dovetailed, so is windage adjustable. The front is sort of pinned in place, which you can remove with a Glock tool or a hex wrench by removing the slide and getting to that, which anybody who owns Glocks would be familiar with. Of course, on this side, you do have the 19X roll markings, caliber, and made in Austria. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the triggers, starting off with our trigger pull weight. So Start off here with the 365, which does have a trigger pull weight of 4 pounds and 14.8 ounces, and the Glock 43X at 5 pounds 6.8 ounces, so we are about half a pound heavier on the Glock's trigger pull. But of course that's not all the story, so let's go ahead and bring those triggers in for a closer look. Okay, and here's the trigger on this Sig 365. It is metal in construction. Let's go ahead and start giving it a pull. So you have a little bit of take up there until you hit that wall. We'll go ahead and give it a little bit of pressure and pull through. Brake is right there, very nice and clean. Let's go ahead and check out the reset. Start to let off. A little bit of travel and right. There is the reset. Let's go ahead and show that again. Brake. And a little bit of travel. Right there's a reset. Of course, this is not a match grade trigger by any means, but it is very nice and smooth with a very nice clean break and a relatively short travel into the reset, which is also very nice and crisp. You can definitely feel when the trigger is reset and ready to go. I am a fan of this trigger for a carry handgun. It's a nice compromise between weight and sort of clean, steady break, really no grit, very nice easy transition in your reset. Very nice trigger overall. Here's the Glock Trigger. Of course, you've seen one, you've seen them all. It is polymer in construction and does have a trigger safety, which of course you do not have on the 365. Right here, you have a little bit of take up, a little bit of that classic Glock sponginess. Go ahead and pull right there into a nice clean break. Reset. Right there's a reset. A little bit shorter than the 365. Show that one more time. Reset right there. So I will give the edge on the reset to the Glock, but then keep in mind I am very transparent. I am a fan of Glock. I carry a Glock 17. Of course, this has a new Generation 5 trigger, which is arguably a little bit lighter than the previous generations. I still can't feel a huge amount of difference in the different generations. That's neither here nor there, but I do like the trigger. I personally feel more at home on this trigger. I do like it a little bit more. Like I said, it is a little bit heavier than the 365, but to each his own on that. At least you've seen the travel, the reset, and the weights on both, so you can make up that decision for yourself there. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the field strip, starting with the 365. We'll open it up, check that we're clear, and we are. Setting the magazine aside with the slide open, we'll go ahead and move the takedown lever down into the 6 o'clock position. Release the slide and go ahead and let it off the frame. Keep in mind, I did not have to snap the trigger in order to do that. We'll set that aside. Right in here, you have a captive double guide rod and spring right here. And here is the barrel and slide. And just like that, we are field stripped. Now let's go ahead and get into the disassembly of the 43X. You've disassembled one Glock, you've disassembled them all. Very simple, very straightforward. Go ahead and check that we are clear, and we are. Now with the slide forward, we'll go ahead and snap the trigger, bringing back the slide just slightly and pulling down on both takedown tabs on either side of the frame. While holding them down, go ahead and release the slide and take it off the frame. Here is your double guide rod and spring system, just like the 365, and slide and barrel, and that is a field strip. Now let's take a closer look at the frame, starting here with the 43X. Now it does have a lot of the stylizings of the Generation 5 family. You do not, though, have any of the flares here at the bottom of the magwell like you do on other Gen 5s, or any type of cutout here at the front, and there is no finger grooves. Very much like the standard Glock Model 43. In basic Glock fashion, there is really no frills or thrills here about this. You do have your slide stop on this side only. It is not ambidextrous like other Gen 5s. Here is your steel guide rails for your slide, ejector. All your main components that are important are steel in construction, everything else being polymer. There's really not much else to say about it. The magazine release is reversible if you are a left-handed shooter. The 365, also polymer in construction. You do have your internal components are steel. I do like the fact that the guide rails do travel most of the duration of the frame, unlike the Glock, just a little bit more rigid and durable in my opinion. Now the texturing and contouring here on the grip frame is a little bit nicer. Not overly aggressive like you would get on a Shield 2.0. It does kind of have that gritty sandpaper feeling, but it doesn't really get in the way. It doesn't bother me, and I am the type of person who is sensitive to over-aggressive texturing on the grip. I can't really see that bothering you too much carrying inside the waistband, but I have not done that myself, so I'm just throwing that out there. Now the magazine release is reversible, but the slide stop is not. So you have the same sort of ambidextrous ability, if that's a word, that you do on the Glock 43X. Here's our takedown lever, which we already talked about. There is no type of safety, so no trigger safety, no manual safety, but to a lot of people, that's a non-issue. With a good concealed carry holster, you really shouldn't have any type of safety concerns anyway. Now bringing in the two frames for sort of a side-by-side comparison, you are going to notice a pretty significant size difference here. I'll go ahead and show you that. Difference there on the base of the frame. Sorry about the focus there. There you go. So there's the difference in the length and the base of the frame. Difference in the kind of the way the 43X does protrude a little bit more on the trigger guard and a little bit longer here on the frame as well. So although they are the same capacity, they did not sort of, the 365 is still a little bit on the smaller side if size is important to you. To further illustrate the point, there is the difference in size of the magazines. You can just see a very definite difference in the Glock magazine, but both mags do house 10 rounds. Okay, finishing up here with a couple takeaways. Now, first, let's talk about retail. So the 365 does retail in about the $500 to $550 range. The Glock 43X is going to be at about probably the same price coming out of the gate, but as time goes on, this is going to settle around the $450 to $500 range. So respectively, about $50 to $100 cheaper on the 43X, depending on where you find it. Now, I know there's going to be an onslaught of comments from people who have found good deals at cheaper prices. Sure, that's going to happen. There are going to be distributors running blowouts on either of these, and you will find cheaper prices on that. I'm just talking about the average of where you're going to see the prices on these settle around. So they are more or less within the same ballpark as one another, but the Glock 43X will be a little cheaper. So the next point of contention is the size. So when the P365 came out, it was really revolutionary. It was a handgun that was smaller in size than the Shield, the Glock 43, the LC9S, the Springfield XDS, but had almost double the capacity. We were moving from a 6-round capacity to a 10-round, and even with the slight extension, which gives it a little bit more length on the grip, you're up to 12. So really revolutionary and groundbreaking, which is why it is so popular. Now, unfortunately, when the 365 first came out, they did have issues with firing pin drag, some firing pin breakage issues, which had to be addressed and really postponed Sig's ability to get these out into the market in any large enough numbers, which even today as I film this, the 365 is still really hard to come across and hard to get in inventory, but they're still very popular. As far as I know, a lot of those bugs have been worked out, so you shouldn't have any issues with that moving forward. Now, the 43X really took a page from Sig's book to say, how can we keep a single stack concealed carry handgun, but up that capacity to 10 rounds, which I think they've done pretty effectively, but it is still undoubtedly larger than the 365. So it's going to boil down to it. If your still main concern is, I need to get the smallest with the greatest amount of capacity possible, the 365 still leads if we're just talking in that regard. Now, for you Glock fans, like I am a fan of Glock, I really like Glock, or maybe you carried or still do carry the Glock 43. This is really interesting. This is a really cool option where you can get something that's really within the same realm of a Shield still, of the Glock 43, of the LC9S. If we're talking strictly size, it's the same size as those, comparatively speaking, but now you're up to the 10 rounds. So Glock really did innovate there, and well, I shouldn't say innovate, they really notice the sort of the interesting thing that the 365 did and created their own adaptation of that, which I think they've done very well. Now, obviously, I haven't shot either of these in this video. If you've been here before, I'm more of the tabletop technical overview. There are going to be tons and tons, hundreds probably, of videos of these being fired, which you can go and look at for that, sort of the details and controllability and accuracy and all that. I'm just talking strictly sort of the details and the specifications and that sort of overview, which is what my channel really revolves in. Anyway, that's all I have for you today on these guys. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking this out. If you have any questions, please let me know by leaving those down in the comments section. If If you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that bell notification button so you can be aware when I post new content. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you there. My name is Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV. I will see you next time.